Welcome back. We're now going to start entering purchase invoices. So let's have a look at the first invoice we need to purchase. Okay, we've received an invoice from our supplier, Total Percussion. And what information is on here? Okay, well, this is their account number, so we're not interested in that. Okay, we have an invoice number. We're going to need to enter that. Okay. We're given two dates. The date the order was made and the date of the invoice. Now, this is the date we're interested in. We're not going to post that date. Basically, when you're entering invoices, you need to be aware that it is the tax point that you enter. And a tax point is basically the time of supply. It's the date when the transaction took place for VAT purposes, and it's usually the date that the invoice was issued or raised. So that's the date we're going to be entering. Okay, and the order number, we can enter that as well to so that we can tie the invoice to the order. Just gives us an extra bit of information. Okay, now before we start entering anything, what I would like you to do is to add up the gross cost. Okay, so add up the gross cost of each of the purchase invoices. So just add the gross cost up. Okay, because we're going to do a little check. We're going to batch post these invoices. Now, just as a control check, it's a good idea when you have a number of invoices to add them up. Don't add up the sales ledger ones, just the purchase. Okay, so just down to the last purchase invoice, which is invoice number 139 sounds alive. So just total those up, and when we've finished entering all of the purchase invoices, we can then do our own control check. Okay. Okay, once you've totaled up those invoices, just make a little note of the total. So you may just want to pause the video while you're adding up those in the gross total of the purchase invoices. Okay, so now we're going to go to the supplier ledger, okay, and we're going to select invoice. We're going to batch post these invoices, as I think I've mentioned. Again, we've got batch invoice here. Okay. So if we select that, that brings us into the batching box effectively. So automatically the cursor here is flashing, so we need to select our first supplier account that we're going to enter the invoice to, and that's going to be Total Percussion. So if we enter T, you'll see Total Percussion comes up. Okay, and just tab over to the date. Now remember, the date we're going to enter is going to be the invoice date, which is the 3rd of February. That's going to be 3rd of February 2013. The reference will be the invoice number. So remember, this reference here is the invoice number. Okay. So let's just have a look. Okay, so that's going to be this one here, 1096. So I'm going to enter 1096. Okay, and the X reference. Now remember, I suggested that you could enter the order number here. So if I go back to the invoice and we just scroll down. Okay, just scroll down. Okay, we can enter the order number in the XREF. Okay, that date we don't want, and that we don't want. Okay, this one, yes, that's fine. Okay. Right, so the XREF is 22, so that's the sales order number, so we can then tie the order number up with the sales invoice. Okay, now nominal code. Remember, this is important because this is going to effectively be how Sage allocates the transaction. So let's have a look at the invoice. Now we're actually given a nominal code here, 5241. If we weren't, we'd have to work out which nominal code to allocate the purchase to ourselves from the description, which is normally the case. Because this is the first exercise, you've been given the nominal code. So drum kits, okay, now it's a purchase. Okay, so remember we looked when we amended our purchase nominal codes, it was within the 5,000 range. So knowing that this is a purchase and it's for drum kits, we would have to go somewhere around the 5,000 range to find the nominal code. But we've actually been given it here, so we don't need to worry too much about that. So in the nominal code we need to enter 5241, and you see purchase drum kits comes up, so that's correct. Now we can just check here on the left, our account is total percussion, and the nominal code we're allocating this transaction to within our accounts is purchases drum kits. Okay, so that's just for us to keep a check that we've got the right nominal code and we have the right supplier account. Department, leave as 0. Project reference cost code, leave empty. Go straight to details and then enter the details, which is the description, which is drum kits. Okay, so we're just going to enter drum kits as a description. Okay, and then go over to the net. So again, what was the net? Okay, the net cost is 824. So we're just going to enter a net cost of 824. It's standard rated VAT, so we leave the tax code as T1. Just tab across and you'll see here Sage automatically calculates the VAT for you at 14420. Is that correct? Yeah, okay, 14420, 17.5%. Okay, so for this exercise, the VAT rate is 17.5%, and you can see that up there. If, on the other hand, the VAT rate was 20% and we saw 17.5 in the tax rate here, we would have to amend our VAT rate. But the VAT rate for this exercise is 17.5%, so that's correct. Okay, don't save, go right just to the next line. We're now ready to enter our next invoice. So if we scroll down, so say we're batch posting, so we've totaled the invoice up, we're now posting them all. Let's look at the next one. Okay, this next one is from MIS Limited. Again, that is their account number, so we ignore that. We need this invoice number, the date of the invoice, the order number we can use. We're not interested in the date that it was ordered for the sake of posting the invoice to the accounts. Okay. And then we have the description and the amount and the nominal code. Okay. So again, the cursor here is flashing in the account for the supplier account, so we just enter M, and MIS Limited should come up. And the date, again, is the 3rd of February. It's going to be 2013. The invoice number, 6043. The XREF, as I say, we can put the order number in there, so that's 36. The nominal code, very important, because obviously this is going to determine where the transaction is allocated, how this transaction is accounted for. So that's 5202. Okay, and that's purchase pianos. Just check that against the description. Go to details, and we're just going to enter pianos. Okay, you could put by 2 actually. Let's put 2 of them. And tab over. And if we enter the net cost, which is 3096, tab across, our VAT has been calculated as 54180. Now just check that against your invoice. Sometimes the VAT calculated by Sage might be a penny out, so you might need to amend that manually, but just check that's been calculated correctly. Okay, that's fine. So now I'm going to go through and just enter the rest of the purchase invoices, and I'd like you just to enter them with me. Okay. Okay, now I want you just to check that total. Remember I said total the gross cost of each of the purchase invoices. So just check that total against the total you have here. Okay, so the total you wrote down when you added up the physical invoices, okay, that are in the handout, does that match your total here? Now if it does, it means that everything has been entered correctly. If it doesn't, then it means that there's an error. You've either made an error when you added up the invoices initially, or you have made an error in the amounts that you've entered here on the batch. Okay, now that's just a little control check for you to remember. Okay, so my batch total was 17,303.47, so that's correct. So let's just save that now. Okay, and you can see here the balances for each supplier has been populated. Now if I highlight a supplier, let's say MIS, and I select activity, okay, we select activity there, that takes us into the actual supplier account, and we can see the purchase invoices that have been entered to that supplier. Okay, so you can see here, again, I want to draw your attention here to the number reference that Sage has given each transaction, so 5 and 9 in this case. We've got our invoice number entered, the date, the details, and the amounts. Okay, if we look here, the balance, so we currently owe MIS £4,405.31. Okay. Okay. You see, got the aging down here as well. Okay. If we go to financials, let's just have a look. Again, we can go to modules, and then if you select financials, okay, you can see here we have a few more transactions entered in our audit trail. Again, the Sage unique ID code, a number that it's given each transaction, and we have all our transactions here that have been entered. The nominal code they have been entered to, the description, the date that was allocated to each transaction, and the references. Okay, so that's the end of Sage for today. Next week we will enter the sales invoices and just finish off the final transactions. So if you back up your work, remember if you go to File, Backup, would you like to check your data? Well, good practice, we should check our data beforehand, so let's just select yes. Okay, no problems to report, so that's good, so we can close that down. And now just if you put your cursor in front of the S and enter a name, a unique name for your backup, okay, Bandstand, okay, 10th of May, you'll notice we have the date here, 10th of May 2013. Okay, actually it's going to be the 11th, isn't it? So Saturday the 11th of May, so let's just change that. And we're going to browse the location. Now save it ideally to a memory stick, but if you don't have a memory stick, then save it to your desktop and email it to yourself so that you have it for next week. Okay, let's go to select OK and OK.